everything got flipped around after my first trip to the proper wilderness, I would say. It's quite life changing. It really made me think everything differently in general. I remember sitting by this riverbed in Sweden, just watching the river passing by and all the foams and rapids and the water circling around, and I remember it so well. That's 5 years ago now, and it was like sitting there. I was thinking, like, what could I change in my life in order to do this more? Maybe the most impressive thing that happened to me in the nature is how my values get reorganized. You enter the nature for a couple of days, first days, you always remain in your old thoughts. You worry about the things you worry in your everyday life. As time goes on, you forget everything. There's a period of times, let's say, if you spend 2 weeks in the wilderness, after a couple of days you just don't think about anything else except what's happening there and then. But that's not the beauty of it. The beauty of it is, as the trip gets closer to an end, all these worries you had, they're not really disappearing. Like, they're coming back to your mind one by one. But the thing is, everything is in a new order. Taking these trips has definitely had an impact on my work, much more than anything else. At times I was feeling there's really no reason for me to work. Maybe I was nearing a burnout of some kind. But these proper breaks in the solitude, they just reset you so well. I used to do so much more hours than these days, but I was nearly not as productive as I am these days. And I believe it all comes down to really taking the time to keep things in balance. And I've always enjoyed extremes. I do BMXing, I go to these wilderness places, so even with work, quite often it gets to quite extremes. I worked with Emmi for more than 10 years now. Like, I did my work experience to her a long time ago. And as she is my sister, we have this strong relationship outside of the work too. I truly feel like it benefits. You're never afraid of saying how things really are. If there's any issues, you're never afraid of revealing them. You never try to hide anything. From time to time, it's a bit unclear where the line goes, of like what is whose responsibility. But with Emmy, it's been always so easy. We both know where to stop, where to start from, and I think for this reason, like, whenever we do a project, the end result is just great. The amount of hours used is considerably less than with many other designers I've worked with, and that has taught me a lot. So whenever I do work with someone else, I try to be very open, like, you don't need to do this, and could you do this, just to avoid this unnecessary work. Especially with modern day development tools, you can get so much done in so little time, and not like every little detail has to be designed. You just need to give this great feel, and I believe like a good developer should be able to take over from there. And this works fantastically with Emmy. She knows the parts that she needs to design in more detail, and and she knows not to repeat the same things over and over again. So all in all, it's fantastic, yeah. And I get to be with my sister, so it's awesome. Something I've never really understood is how important we consider our own little creations and all the little things that fulfill our days. Of course, it's on a personal level, it is important, but everything is so temporary, and this is something that the nature, or spending time in the nature, really forces you to swallow. Like, it really forces you to think that your time on here is temporary. Your projects are even more temporary. Like, on the other hand, one could think this is depressing, but it also, for me at least, it took all the stress out. Of course, I want to do my best, and I want to learn and create, but in the end, everything is very temporary, and what we instead should always be thinking of is what are the long-term consequences of whatever our actions are, so that there's something for the next generations as well. And like, this nature is ongoing force. It's always there. It's always been there, and it's just saddening that it might not be the same because of things we want to have in this short period of our lifetime. There's so many stories to be told from these trips, but I think one of the most memorable ones is from last summer. We're hiking in Norway. We wanted to take this shortcut, which ended up making us walk 8 kilometers more. So it became 35 kilometers in total to do in one day. And as we were approaching the car, there was one river that was still flooding, and there was huge rapids after the crossing point, and we were really doubting if we can make it, but going around would have taken significantly longer. So there we are, started taking our socks off, pulling our pants up, or actually taking our pants off, and as I'm stepping into the river already, like carrying all the stuff, this little lemming with the baby lemming comes from the bush or somewhere, and it's like spooked of us, gets really scared, and this little fellow just runs to the river and gets immediately flushed downstream. Obviously that was the end of the lemming, but that stopped us. We were like, we have to find another way. Like, that's a clear sign. Like, we all know this feeling where you get chicken skin from music and the music really hits your spine and you get this energy and boost from it, which with music, for me at least, is quite temporary, lasts for a couple minutes up to some hours. But in the nature I get the same energy, I get the same feelings throughout all the senses, not just hearing. So you really, like, you might be just looking at the landscape and you get this rush, like this energy rush just through your body just by looking at things and feeling and smelling, and to me that's been the most inspiring thing in years. It's a hard thing to know if wilderness or spending time there would have the same influence to all of us. Like, we're all different in the end. But I truly hope everyone has this thing in their lives, or finds this thing. What wilderness is to me, it's the source of so many things. Yeah, nature is crazy. It really leaves me speechless.